Thank you. Apparently the mic works a lot better. Don't hear everything you say except when I say it. He said a lot of good things about me, but thank you, appreciate you. Today we will be talking about how to unleash your creativity. I'm going to start with an introduction, but before I do, I pray that God brings eloquence in what I'm about to share with you so that we can establish a human connection that will help me materialize my objective, which is to help you unleash your creative potential. We have so much, hopefully by the end of this talk, you're going to realize that you have so much potential within you that if you leverage it, you can bring any big ideas to life. He touched a bit about my, now I can hear myself. He touched a bit about my background, and what I would like to highlight here is the time that I spent in corporate America. Currently, I'm more of a technologist in corporate America, and as a technologist, the way I like to explain that, at least to my daughter, is that there is the theory part of technology, there is the actual implementation of technology, and there is a business part of it, taking it to market. I'm more in the middle of the actual implementation and the business part of it. And my education is in electrical engineering and innovation and entrepreneurship. Spending some time on this because I want you to have the confidence that you're going to get some value out of this. So if you're not, I would wake you up. The goal is to help you learn the processes and the tools that will help you unleash your creative potential. And I would like to start with this question. Where do you think ideas come from? Oh, it's not a rhetorical question.
Maybe necessity.
Necessity, I like it. Anyone else?
Solving a problem.
Solving a problem. Where do ideas come from? That's within, is it within you? Is it without, outside of you? Where do ideas come from?
From experience.
Experience, I agree with that. What else you got?
They come from your brain.
From your brain, I like it. Anyone else? One last one.
There's always an outside influence.
There's always an outside influence. See, I like to coach a gentleman by the name of David Lunch. He did say that ideas are like fish. And the way he puts it is, when you want a fish, you don't make a new one. You go fish. You go get from the water. So ideas are the same way. You don't make new ideas. You find a way to reach out for them. And the type of fish you get depends on the type of water you are and the type of tools you bring. If you bring a net, you tend to bring a different fish than if you bring a pole. If you go into a deep sea, you get a bigger one, and then if you stay on the surface, you get the idea. The same thing works with idea. So think of when you want an idea, how deep you go and where you go to fetch the idea is essentially determine the type of idea you're going to get. You have a situation, you sit there and you think about, hey, by the way, how am I going to come up with all of this? So you could go fetch from your previous experience, or you could even sit there in deep meditation, and then the deeper you go, the bigger the idea becomes, right? It truly comes from both the outside world and the inside world. So the definition that I love about creativity is that it's about generating ideas to solve a problem. So from that definition, where do you think creativity comes from?
It's kind of like connecting different ideas.
Connecting different ideas. What else you got? Where does creativity come from? I'm going to pick on this table here. Don't worry, I'll wait. Where do you think creativity come from? Throw something out there. How bad could it be? Collaboration, he said. What else we got? Anyone else? Creativity. He said collaboration. See, in order to understand creativity, I'm going to look back at an experiment that was done by a gentleman by the name of David Lang. So this was way back in the 60s, where the US government, or NASA namely, reached out to this gentleman to do a research, to divide a creativity test that's going to help him hire the most innovative engineers within NASA. It makes sense, doesn't it? So then this gentleman went on, and then he created a test with his colleagues. The test worked out really great. So the test hasn't been made public, but some of the questions within the test would be something like, how many use can you make of a paperclip, right? So if you think about, most of us in general tend to come up with about 10 to 15, sometimes 200 uses at most. But the ones that score at the creative genius level tend to have, initially it was 10 to 15, the creative genius would score about 200 or more. Imagine, if I were to do this exercise right now and say, how many use can you make of a circle on paper, right? The obvious one come up, right? Your eyeballs, the wheels, the basketball, and then at some point you get stuck, right? So the creative genius would go beyond what you see. So they would take two circles, and then they will make, something completely benign, right? And then the third circle would be like a Venn diagram, and then it goes on, right? That's what the test was trying to prove, and of course the test worked really well. So it worked so well that he decided, hey, what if we do the same test on children, right? So let me ask you this question, and your participation would be greatly appreciated. In here, the same test that was used or designed to find the creative ones among the engineers so that they are hired within NASA are used for children between the ages of 3 and 5, right, in the Head Start program. And the initial sample was about 1,500, or, in the year of 4 and 5, how many among these children score the creative genius level on that test?
60%.
60%.
80%.
80%.
Let's say 40.
40%. He's not very optimistic. 75, 80%. We have a lot of 80 area.
So I give it 75% as well.
75%. Anybody want to go lower than the pessimist? Anybody? These are children from the age of 4 and 5. How many do you think score a genius level? One last one. A number. He's up in the 80%. Those who are up in the 80%, if it was the Price is Right, you would have been the winner. So it was 98%. 98% of the children between the age of 4 and 5 scored a genius level on a test that was used to select the most creative engineers in NASA. Now, here's somebody with a lot of ambition. He thought, I'm going to use the same test on the same kids 5 years later. So it was a longitudinal study. Same test, same group of kids, 5 years later. Now, you tell me, at year 10, What is the percent of the youth that score genius level?
50.
Ooh, pessimism. Whoa. 70. 50. What you got? 80. Ooh, she's optimistic. I like
I think
it.
it's 60%.
He said 60%. He said, I think it's 60%. What you got here? A number? 75%. 80%. Ooh, I like the optimism. 82. The price is right, huh? All right. So let's look at the number. It was a whopping 30%. Remember, same test, same group of kids, 5 years later.
5 years of disillusion.
Now, again, longitudinal study, right? So he decided, I'm going to do it for another round of 5 years. So now, help me understand. What percent score genius level? Same kids, 15 years later. 5%.
Same hand. 1 0 less. 5.
1 0 less, 5. What you got? Now, I'm sensing cynicism here.
2%.
2%.
I'll go 10%.
Huh? 10%. Okay, I like that. He has faith. What you got? 10%. Now, you're not all far off. It's 12%. 12% score the genius level. Same kids. 15 years ago, who scored 98%, 12%. Now, it's like, okay, you know what? Let me do the same test, but I'm gonna take about 150,000 adults averaging in a year, about 30 years, right? A lot of sample, right? And what percent of the adults do you think score the genius level? These are completely picked at random, not the same kids anymore. So start picking on those kids. 2%. Oh, 1%. What you got?
Between 4 and 5.
Between 4 and 5. Everybody is in single digit. It's indeed 2%. Average age of 31 years of age. I think you can sense where I'm going with it. Our ability to be imaginative, we learn to lose it as we grow up. So this could happen because when somebody shame you or you make an attempt to be creative and people made fun of it, that scar stays with you through life. Like one of the exercise that I do when I'm working with some executives, to be creative, brainstorming, we start with, hey, okay, draw down your idea, Post-it notes, right? A lot of them start getting on their phone, they start picking up phone calls outside or pretending at least, emails, or they say, I don't know how to draw. When do you think that came? Along the way as they were growing up, at some point, somebody must have told them, don't make this your day job, right? So it's truly something that we, not only society do, but we also do to ourselves. See, this recommendation is that you return to the you of yesterday. And it's not like it's ever lost. Every time you fall asleep and you dream, you are exercising that creative muscle. You are thinking about things that aren't even there. You are combining things that usually don't combine. It's there within you, but I think you suppress it constantly. And for you to return to the you of yesterday requires a deliberate process. And if you can stop criticism, the judgment, and the censoring of those big ideas, you could get back to it. I like to put this picture of my daughter. She is currently 7, but this was when she was 5. And at some point, I'm supposed to be in this picture, right? I swear, I can't even see myself. And we don't have a dog, by the way, right? No dog. I'm in this picture in there. And the message was she loves me and she was thinking about me. So How many of you would dare to put such picture out there with pride? You probably hide it. You wouldn't even dare to adventure into depicting what's in your head. So you still have it in you if you are able to return to the you of yesterday. Let's do a quick recap. We started with comparing ideas to fishes, that we don't make new ideas just like we don't make new fishes. If you need a fish, you show ideas, you need to put yourself in the right circumstances and in the right settings to get the ideas. And the deeper you go, the bigger it gets. And then we talked a bit about creativity, and creativity is a way for you to use ideas to transform, is a way for you to transform ideas into reality, right? And then we talked a bit about, we didn't talk much about innovation, but innovation came through, so that's gonna be the next topic. But let's look at, but innovation is not creativity. You should also remember that. A lot of people tend to use those terms interchangeably. Innovation is not creativity. But let's talk a bit about epiphany. When the term epiphany comes up, a lot of us tend to, I like to use the story of Isaac Newton. How many of you heard the story of Isaac Newton and how he came up with the theory of gravity, right? And it probably goes as he was sitting under a tree and then the apple falls in his head. He's like, oh crap, there's gravity, right? Does it really work like that? That story is romantic, but it's far from true, right? What I don't like about this story is that he dismissed the years, 20s of years, I mean, not 20s, over 20 years of research of trying to prove gravity. Gravity is not something he discovered, by the way, but he found a mathematical way to express it. So, do you really think that happened while you are sitting under an apple tree? And another thing that I don't like about it is that you have to be in the right place at the right time for the right idea to struck you. Fresh. And so let's talk a bit about epiphany. I think if anybody, you do a puzzle here, if you are putting a 2,000-piece jagged puzzle together and you find that last piece, finally, you're going to put that last piece together after however long you took to put it together. Does it matter the type of shoe you're wearing or the color clothes you're wearing when you put that last piece? Right? What's true? What's true is that you put a lot of effort and thinking and trial and error to put all the rest together. And the last piece is just a logical next step. It doesn't matter what you were thinking, what you were wearing, the song that was playing, where you are sitting. That is what's true about epiphany. Think of it as the last piece that you're going to put in the puzzle after working so many hours and doing so many thinking and making so many trials. So this is the last piece. Now, what is innovation? We already know it's not creativity, but then what is it? What is innovation? Anybody want to take a shot? This is an innovation conference. Change. I like
Adding on new ideas.
adding on new ideas.
Putting new ideas to use.
Putting new ideas to use. Adding on new ideas, change, putting new ideas to use. One last one.
Disruption.
Disruption. So, as you know, as you're going to hear throughout the talk today, hopefully, disruption is a type of innovation. But it doesn't define innovation, right? I mean, one of the things that Chris Christensen put it together, I think he said it really nicely. The thing about innovation is that it means different things to different people. So when you say innovation, you truly got to ask, what type of innovation you're talking about, right? Is it, progressively coming up with something new? Is it coming up with something radically new, right? Is it, you gotta be explicit so that you can be on the same page when we talk about innovation. But disruption is more of a type of innovation. So there are so many definitions, and I'm not sure I could say which one is right, which one is wrong, but the one that I like the most is the following. It's the process of creating value by applying novel solutions to meaningful problems. Here is what I like about this. I've highlighted the key words in there, right? I don't know who to give credit to, but so when we look at a Venn diagram, I tend to think in equations, right? When we look at a Venn diagram, if an idea is novel and it solves a problem, but it doesn't generate value, we're gonna call it an invention. But if an idea is new and does create value, but it doesn't solve a problem, it's an art. And as you can see, the rest of it. But it needs to be novel. Another key word is it's a process. It's not a destination. Because when we think of innovation as a destination, we start when we arrive. But when we think of it as a process, it's something that's continuous. So when you think innovation, novel ideas, it has to solve a problem, it needs to generate value, and it's definitely a process, not a destination. Question. Then I feel like I'm going to throw in another word, because when we talk about innovation, there's a lot of way to look at it, but we have to stay grounded. And innovation trinity help us stay grounded. And that is the viability, desirability, and the feasibility of an idea, right? If with the viability, you get to answer the question, does it make business sense? With the desirability, which I tend to be quite strong at, and I tend to focus the most on is, do people want it? Do they care? If you create something that nobody cares, it doesn't matter how viable or even how feasible it is for you to build, right? We all know those ideas of, let's say the Segway. I always pick on Dean Kamen, who invented the Segway. Nobody really cared. It was ahead of his time. And the feasibility is concerned mostly with, can we build it? So do people want it? Does it make economic sense? Does it make business sense? And the last one is, can we build it? You need to be able to answer those questions. So, and then we're gonna walk into, that innovation trinity is used a lot in design thinking. So design thinking could be a course by itself. It couldn't be, it is a course by itself. People even major in those type of things. But I'm just gonna quickly graze over it. And since this is an innovation conference, I think it would be a good reminder for those of you who already know. And for those who don't know, it would be an aha moment. So when you have a problem and you're trying to come up with a new solution, as we know innovation is, you start with understanding the problem, right? Big word for human-centered design. You design around human, around your customer. You don't just go like the Segway guy, come up with a really cool technology that nobody cares about. That helps you avoid those kind of things. So you start with the problem, recommend it, right? And then from the problem, you generate a lot of ideas. Like I said, I'm staying on top here, not going deep, but I could certainly go in depth if that interests you and if time allows. And then once you generate wow, so this is where your creativity would come in. Let go of any self-imposed boundaries or restriction. Return to the you of yesterday. And then afterwards, you create a prototype and you test. This part is iterative. You create a prototype, whether we're talking about creating a business, solving a problem, this process works all the time. Let's take an example of someone who says, hey, I want to create a startup. I would start by saying, what problem are you trying to solve? Most of the time they say, no, it doesn't matter. I have this idea and I know people are going to love it. How do you know? You don't know, right? But then let's go with this process. What's the problem you're trying to solve? Well, I know ladies like to look good, but then the heels hurt them when they put it on. So how about we solve that? Don't expect me to come up with the answer of that, but let's go through the process, would you? So I know this, that they want to look good, but then it hurts their leg. How do we solve that as a problem? Now let's go wild and what is it about a heel that you like? Let's focus on ladies. What do you like about heels? Oh, you don't like heels. That was the wrong example. Who's wearing heels that I could pick on? Okay. It makes him, see, he's going with me. He's letting go of his self-imposed. So what do you like about heels? It makes you look taller. What else? What else you got? Because I'm afraid to point out another lady and say, I don't wear heels.
I gotta stay in my lane.
I gotta know. What do you like about heels?
Makes your legs look stronger, like, your muscle behind your...
Oh, the calves, you make the calves look stronger and all that. So when you have those elements together, now you could start thinking about, well, it doesn't have to be pointy now, does it? Do the heels have to be pointy? Probably not, right? And of course, when I say go wild and ideate, this is where you come up with the wildest idea. But when you do prototype, now, you cannot prototype or even ideate until you understand the problem. And what does understanding the problem in this example means? You gotta wear a heel and walk around. Do a swagger with it, right? Until you understand where it hurts, you can't actually come up with a solution. Do you agree with that? How many of you, men, know what it feels like to walk in a heel? Oh, I don't, because I have a big feet and I don't think there is a heel that I could fit in. But the point I'm trying to make is it's truly hard, if not next to impossible, for you to solve the heel problem until you walk in a heel. Is that fair? I think that's fair, right? So then you understand the problem, you generate lots and lots of ideas. So let's say instead of the heel being pointy, it's wide. And then afterwards, you create a prototype and see how that feels. If that doesn't work, what do? You go back to the drawing board. You generate more ideas and you test and you prototype. And then eventually, if you get it right, you implement. So some people would break this down into 6 steps, some into more, some into less, but the general idea is these main 4. You understand the problem, go wild with your idea, prototype, and then eventually you implement after a lot of iteration. It's rare that you get it right the first time. Now, we said a lot of things, and some of you might be like, how are all these related? Okay, if you are able to understand how they're all related, then you'll be like, I don't remember anything you said 5 minutes ago. Let me try to do a quick recap and leave you with some tips. Ideas are like fish. The only reason I like this thought is because I don't want you to think that, oh, I need to make new ideas. And look outside, look within. There are many ideas. They'll say ideas are cheap, right? And then eventually we talked about creativity and where it comes from, and how you unlearn it as you grow up. And I also gave you some tips on how you could return to the you of yesterday by avoiding criticizing your own ideas and all those cynicism that I heard in the room. And then eventually we compare ideas to creativity to innovation and say innovation is not creativity. And then eventually, I highlighted a bit about epiphany. And because I thought that was important, because I don't want you to think that you have to be in the right place at the right time or be wearing a certain type of shoe when you come up with that big idea. The unsexy part about big ideas is that it takes a lot of work and a lot of trial. Just like I mentioned with the puzzle. You look at a puzzle, it doesn't matter when you put the last piece, what you were doing, the setting you are in, the type of clothes you're wearing. It truly doesn't matter. It took a lot of effort for you to put the puzzle together. That last piece is just the last piece. That's how we define epiphany. And then we talked about design thinking with the 4 steps. Now, how do you return to the you of yesterday? Here are some recommendations for you to start. The first thing is you have to choose creativity. Choosing creativity means you have to be deliberate and say, hey, I'm going to be creative, and it's okay if people don't get it. Anytime you go through something and say, I'm going to choose to be creative today, you have to choose to be creative. The second thing is keep a bug list. When I do my workshops, one of the things in my whiteboard is my bug list. And what a bug list is, the things that truly bug you, that annoy you. That helps you sharpen your ability to identify what's wrong with the word, what's wrong with the picture, what's wrong with the setting. Only then you will be able to have lots of ideas on how to solve it, because once you see it, it lurks in the back of your head. They call it the relaxed attention. So a bug list doesn't have to go on the whiteboard. It could be on your phone. It could be on a piece of paper. You go around. One of the things that was on my bug list when my daughter was 3, it was 1, is that every time she falls asleep on my shoulder, I put her down, she wakes up. I went there and I put down my bug list. I have no way to keep her asleep when I put her down. There's no, she falls asleep, never fails. I put her down, she stands up like she's a soldier, and then she starts crying with her hand up. That's on my bug list. I still don't have a solution, by the way, if you're expecting that. But the thing is, the point I'm trying to make with that example is anything could go on your bug list. You want to be sharp or sharpen your ability to identify what's wrong with the situation. That's how you come up with ideas. Think like a traveler. I'm from Boston, new to Pittsburgh. One of the things that I noticed when I came in yesterday is that Pittsburgh has a lot of hills. And how do you live with the deer in the middle of the city? See, I wouldn't have noticed that, I don't think, if this was in Boston, because I'm so used to it. But if you are a traveler, you are new, everything is new, so you start noticing everything. Use your 5 senses, what you see, what you feel, what it tastes like, and all of that. And you could do that today, even when you go in your room, your own house, you go in your room, you say, if I was new today in this room, what do I see? That's how you will be able to identify new ideas and creative solutions. Ask why. Constant why, like a toddler. Sometimes they say 5 whys. Go further if you want to. Why do you feel like the heels make your calf stronger or look stronger? She probably doesn't have an answer. I picked on you. But then I'm going to go on the next why after she answers that. Why do you think that is? And then it goes on. The deeper you go, the more insight you get. And use your lens of celebration. I heard this from a photographer. When he walks into a room, the question he asks himself is, what is here to celebrate? What is there to celebrate? Like, truly, I'm amazed. I don't know what it is about this. Whomever did it, I think it's Charlotte Cat. But good God, this is keeping my attention since I walked in the room, right? Find what is there to celebrate. Because you know why that's important? The mood is what you're after. Typically, when you love, the feeling you get, how you approach things is much different when you just do it aimlessly or when you're angry at it. You tend to listen to songs differently. You'll be like, oh, snap, that's the way I feel right now. Or, ooh, snap, she did that yesterday, right? That is because of how you feel. He's laughing. Seems like he's in love now.
It sounds like you're using your kid's language. Oh, snap.
Right? So that's, well, yeah, I spend a lot of time with her. I don't have much friends. And can you tell? So the thing about that feeling, the lens of celebration, is that it brings you in a mood that helps you see things in a positive way. And that brings me to the end of it. Let me end this by saying, we do have,
We have 10 minutes for Q&A, but we try to give people a little bit of space
if they need to go to the bathroom and then, okay, so we can do Q&A. And the goal of this was for me to unlock your creative potential and help you see that you still have creativity within you. There are ways for you to get it out if you follow certain steps that I have shared. And I hope I was able to help you see the you, at least get a glimpse of the you of yesterday.